Right on, right on. Welcome back. My name is Jayden Eric Beaudoin. Thank you for being here. Today we are talking about how we mute our drums. We are looking at the best ways to do it, the worst ways to do it. We have 7 methods of muting our drums. We're going to evaluate a bunch of different criteria, find out which one comes in the best, which one is the worst. So one thing about all these methods that we'll be doing today is showing what the drums sound like open without any muffling, and then with each piece of muffling on it, so you can hear how some of them are adjustable or not, and hear for yourself what the drum sounds like. Roll that introduction. That introduction tune gets me every time. It's like such a silly, ridiculous thing. Okay. So some of these ways to mute your drums, you can make at home. Very cool. You don't even need to go outside. So there's a lot of variety here. Some of the materials you definitely already have. What are our 7 methods that we're looking at? We can use our wallet. We can use a card of some sort. This is my library card. It says, "I'm happy and I know it." We can put tape on our drums. This is just duct tape, nothing fancy. There are moon gels you can get. They're little goo pads. This is an old drum head that I am going to turn into a O-ring because I don't have any. It's not a method that I use, though there is some benefit to it. Next we have a cloth with a clip that we can put on our rim. And if we want a lot of muting, we can use something like this, which is just a fabric circle that's cut out, and you can secure that again with one of those clips. So there are our 7 methods. Okay, and what am I using to evaluate how good or bad each of these methods are? We have to have some criteria. So, number one thing, affordability. How much is this going to cost? Of course, some of these are going to be more expensive than others. Number 2, how adjustable is this? If we need to go outside, or if we're playing inside, if we're changing venues and locations, your basement is not going to sound the same as my basement, is not going to sound the same as that outdoor concert venue that, you got canceled in the summer because of COVID, and now we're all at home making videos about how to mute your drums. Okay, so the next part is, how does it look on your drum? Does it have a really professional look, or does it really change the appearance? Because sometimes you don't want people to know you have anything on it. If you're doing a big photo shoot, or if you know there's going to be a photographer at the show, you don't want to have this big cover on your drum. Maybe you do. This kind of doesn't look too bad. Next thing we're going to look at is, does it permanently alter the drum in any way? Is there something about it that's irreversible? I don't know. That may be something you don't want. So reliability. This is a really important one, and one that, as much as I joke around, this is actually up there with adjustability. I think reliability is really, really key. And that is basically just coming down to, consistency of use. Can I rely on it on maybe different drum sets, different locations, different venues? Is it something that's easy to remember to bring with me? Similar to reliability is, how easy or difficult is it to transport? Is it prone to getting damaged in transport, or is there something that could happen to it? Or is it totally fine and you never have to worry about it? So with those 6 criteria, let's start using some of these on some drums. Now today, we're going to be playing these all on my Ludwig Pocket Kit, which I did a video review about, and I'll put a link up here so you guys can check that out. Very cool kit. It's not a professional kit, but it's a very cheap option, especially if you have students and that sort of thing. Alrighty, we got the drums now. Oh, I love it. Okay, so as I said earlier, one of the biggest things about today is I want you to make up your mind about what the best and worst muting options are. You can argue about it in the comments. That would be sweet. Get into huge fights, and then everybody can have donuts and coffee and we'll all be friends and have hugs. But first, I'm going to be doing all of this on the 10-inch tom. That way you can get a consistent sound. I'm using the same head. Okay, let's hear what this 10-inch tom sounds like. Wide open. Okay, sounds all right. Let's put our wallet on it and hear how that sounds. Oh. Okay, so let's talk about this thing and why it sucks. First, the price, which is actually awesome. Everybody should already have a wallet. Do you have a wallet? Perfect, you can use it. Adjustability, there's a couple different methods. You can actually do, if it's on a snare drum, you can, even on a tom, you can put it like that. Still, it doesn't sound very good though. On a smaller drum, it's very hard to use effectively. Snare drum is okay, you know, but it doesn't really look good. It looks stupid. It looks like you were too cheap to find a regular mute. So, but Pro, this is a great thing. One of the things that's awesome, it doesn't alter your drum in any way because it's your wallet. So, reliability, you know what's in your wallet. If you put more cards in, it's going to be heavy. You take them out, it's going to be lighter. I don't know how much of a difference that's really going to make, but fairly reliable, yes. Transportation, yes. It should be on you, and you'll have it at the gig. So you can use it. That'll be great. Next item. The next item up for bid is a card. Cute. I'm happy and I know it. This is kind of in the same vein as the wallet option, which, you know, it's okay, it's fine. It's not expensive. You're gonna have this. This is a library card. You should probably get one if you don't have one. Tons of online resources are available now. Adjustability, it's not very adjustable. You put it on your drum and there it is. You can move it, but it's gonna find its way to a position and it's gonna stay there. And it kind of looks dumb. I have a big blue card on my tom-tom now. Like, that's not great. You know, especially for pictures, that looks pretty silly. Although saying I'm happy and I know it, that's pretty good. I think that's pretty nice. Does not alter your drum head. Awesome. Great. Reliability, same as the wallet. It's awesome because you're always going to have cards in your wallet. You should have your wallet on you if you're like doing a gig or something. That's awesome. And then transport, same thing. It's going to be in your wallet, so that's awesome. But how does it sound? How does it sound? Let's find out. Ooh, I don't know if you can hear that, if the mic's picking up those little buzzes. Oh, look what happened. You see that? It fell right off. It fell right off. So if you're hitting the drums hard, right out. Moving on. You can tell how I feel about that one. Let's talk about moon gels next. Moon gels are super common. Whoever did the marketing and came up with this idea, 10 out of 10, because you made everybody buy in, and I do not approve. There are a lot of good things about these though, so let's break it down. Price, yeah, you're gonna spend a little bit of money on them. I think they're like 10 bucks a case or something, 5 bucks a case, it doesn't matter. They're not a ton of money, but you might need to buy a bunch of them, especially if you've got 4 toms and a snare. I think they come in sets of 4, so you might need to buy 2 sets because you might also need extra ones on your floor toms. For anybody who doesn't know what moon gels are, moon gels, ugh, freaking gross. We'll get onto that later. So I have a lot here and you can see sort of the difference. Ugh, gross. Let me come closer here. Okay. Moon gels are kind of gross. They do a few yucky things. So they're these sticky pads. You remember those like sticky hand things when you were a kid? They'd like, and it's like, oh. So moon gels are kind of like that. You can see these old ones on the back. I don't know if it's focusing on those too well, but they're really gummy. They're really sticky. They leave like make my fingers feel gross. These new ones aren't as bad. They're a lot clearer, but you can see me pull that. They're kind of sticky. So moon gel's kind of cool idea, you know, little sheet goes on your drums. So we can put that, you know, put that there. Let's see how it sounds. Get this off my hand. Oh, gross. Hate it. Oh. One thing, okay, so here's my beef with moon gels. You're gonna play a gig, you gotta put your moon gels all on, and now your hands are like, I'm trying to play a gig, not like put my hands into pudding or make cookies or something. Like, gross. I don't want my hands to feel like cookie dough's been, ugh. Okay, anyways. Price, we went over that. Adjustability, super adjustable. I can move this gel wherever I want on the drum. Let's see how it sounds here. Cool. Let's move it like, I don't know, there, closer to center. Oh, that actually sounds like pretty decent. Anyways, but they make your hands feel really gummy, so that's kind of junky. Now, the other thing, if you remember when I showed you them, the older ones tend to fade. They looked a little bit more purple. They picked up a lot of junk, dirt, dust, and stuff. So that'll all show up. And if you're getting pictures taken and stuff, again, doesn't look the best. The new ones look pretty good, but again, they fade to purple. You can get clear moon gels. They fade to gray. So you can wash them, but again, it's kind of a pain and it doesn't get all of it out. Like, I've washed those purple ones a couple of times and they're just kind of getting on their last legs. Does it alter your drum head? Yes. Yes, it does, especially if you leave them on there for a long time. They'll leave a little residue on the head the same way they left it on my hand. So not so bad if you only put them on there for half an hour or two kind of thing. But if you leave them on there a long time, they're going to collect all the dust in the air, all the dirt, especially in transportation. Whew. But I'm not a fan because they do leave a sticky coating and that changes your head a little bit. Reliability, they're kind of hit or miss. They last a long time and they will work for a long time. There's a couple fallbacks, you know, with the dust and dirt. And I don't know about you, I don't want dirt and dust and everything coming into contact with my drums. I want to keep them clean so they'll last a long time, especially for my quality kits like this one, Pocket Kit by Questlove. Okay, last thing, transportability. These things, you got to take them off your drums to transport them because, like I said, they're just going to pick up everything or they'll stick to your cases and other things and you'll lose them. I'm not a huge fan of moon gels. I think they could have a purpose somewhere, maybe like in an emergency bag. I have one I bring with me to all my gigs, but overall, I'm not a huge fan. And I think they're the most expensive option on this list as well. So I vote hard no. You can disagree with me in the comments. Moving on. Tape. This is duct tape, all right? So you probably already have some. If not, it's a couple bucks at the store. Great. I always laugh because this is like classic, you know, the super heavy metal drummer will do it, or like your high school drum set has it on there because they didn't know what they were doing. So don't use tape. It sucks. Everything about this method is like the worst, except for the price. It's only a couple bucks. Great. And it is adjustable, but the downside, it looks like garbage and it's going to leave residue on your drum heads. Why would you do that? In addition to that, it starts to flake off, especially with duct tape. All the different strands are going to wear differently. Not a fan. Reliability, yeah, once you put it on your drum, that's it. But if you want to tune your drum, or if you have tape on one side and not the other, you're going to get funny things when you tune. It's going to be a lot more difficult. So you have to tape up both sides evenly. I don't recommend it. Transportability, once the tape's on your drum, it's on your drum. You don't really got to worry about transportation. So I guess price, adjustability, transportation are the pros, but so if you're gonna tape your drums, you don't need a lot of tape. So I might only use maybe an inch. And by I might use, I mean I'm not gonna use. Some people will fold it in the middle, but this is not a good idea because you might end up with some buzzes. So I'm just going to take this tape, I'm going to put it right on the bottom portion of the drum, and we'll hear how that changes the sound. Now I mentioned adding 2 pieces of tape, so we're going to do that next. So again, same amount of tape, about a 3/4 of an inch maybe. Try not to get any wrinkles in your tape as you take it off, if you are going to use this method for some, I don't know why, reason. Argue with me in the comments. It's lots of fun. I don't think many people will for the tape, though. Okay, so here's the sound, 2 pieces of tape. Take it as you will. I'm going to take these off now, and hopefully, yeah. It's like taking a Band-Aid off, man. My drums are screaming. You hear that sound? That's them screaming. Listen closely. He says, ow. Ow. Let's move on. Let's talk about this clip and napkin cloth thing. The clip and cloth. Clip and cloth. The old clip and cloth. Hey, come down to the old clipping cloth. We can get a clipping cloth, a doodle clipping cloth. You probably already have a cloth. The clips are only $1, so that's super affordable, super adjustable. So take your cloth, put it on your drum, take your clip, and you're done. You can put it wherever you want around the drum. Visually, doesn't look the best. If you have coated drum heads, it's a little bit easier to hide the white cloth. In addition, with the black rims and the black clip, you can notch out some pieces if you want to, if you really want to minimize that footprint. Visually is probably their worst feature, unfortunately. Does it alter the drum head? Absolutely not. It doesn't. One thing to make sure, though, is when you clip it, leave some cloth underneath the clip around the rim so you don't get the metal on metal. That might scratch your rims a tiny bit. Reliability. I find they're super reliable. You do, however, need to make sure they will work with your drum head. Different size clips are better for different sized hoops. So if you have bigger hoops, you may need bigger clips, smaller hoops, smaller clips, that sort of thing. It's not a one size fits all. But once you found the right combination, it's great. I've never had a problem with it. I've never had them fly off, except when I didn't match up the size properly. So that may take a little bit of experimentation. Fantastic. Transporting them is a little bit of a pain. I do recommend taking them off the drum head, transporting them separately, maybe in a small bag or your stick bag. And if you want, you can write down on one side of the cloth, 10-inch T for Tom, 14-inch SD, 13-inch SD. But otherwise, they're really good for transportation because you don't really have to worry about them getting damaged. So with that said, how does this sound? I'm going to do a couple different options because this is super adjustable. So here's with most of the cloth on the drum. Now I'm going to take a little bit of cloth off. And then I'm going to take a little bit more cloth off. So quite a lot of options with that one. Next we're going to move on to the fabric sheet, the full drum mute. This is not a method I would use most of the time. I would really only recommend it if you need a lot of muting. If you're, for example, say you live in an apartment or you share a wall with somebody, somewhere where you just can't make a lot of space, then this method is really, really good because it'll really mute down your drums. You could take this one method further and make full drum covers, but I'm assuming most people aren't super handy at sewing and most people don't have a whole ton of sewing experience or those resources lying around, nor do you want to spend that much time just to make your drums quiet and sound like a hollow box. The full fabric drum cover, oh yeah. Price, super cheap. You can make these out of a shirt. I used an old t-shirt. You can make them out of quite a bit of stuff. The important thing is to make sure it's soft so that even if it moves a little bit, you won't get little buzzes and things like that. Very, very cheap. You can go out and buy shirts for a couple dollars if you don't have extras. I would recommend either white or black, maybe gray. Unless you want something outrageous, you can get cool patterns. I mean, go to town, whatever, do whatever you want. It could be your own thing. Get some style into it. You can probably make 2 drum mutes per shirt, so keep that in mind. You could do your tom and your floor. but you might not be able to get your snare in with that same pattern unless you can find two of the same shirts. That'd be pretty silly. I'm plain, I went with black. As far as adjustability, with this method, we're not as concerned about adjustability. Yes, there is some. One, we can have it cover our full head. Another common one I do is having it cover half the head or 3/4 if you want sort of an open sound with some muting. Visually, it actually, if you do it well, it doesn't look too bad. It's still a little bit Ricky Tick, but I don't think it looks too obnoxious. Definitely doesn't alter your drum head. If anything, this will actually preserve your drum head and make them last longer because you got an extra sheet. You won't get those stick impacts. It still will, you'll get some wear over the head just because of that elastic tension getting loosened, but you won't get any stick damage and that sort of thing, which is kind of a nice plus. Reliability, they're really great. One thing is, like I said, if you're a heavy hitter, they will end up developing little rips and things over time, especially if you have really pointy drumsticks, if the tips are really worn or there's lots of slivers. But generally they'll last quite a while and they are really cheap. So the one issue with them is the longevity, but there's longevity issues with most of these as well. Transportation, they're pretty easy to transport. I mean, it's just a ball of fabric. You can crunch it up. You can even put the clip inside the ball or clip it to the ball so you kind of have a contained thing. If you use a white or gray or something like that, then you can, same thing with the cloth, write down, 10-inch tom or 13-inch snare drum or whatever have you. So pretty good. Biggest question though, what does it sound like? Let's find out. Beautiful. That was fully closed. Let's go to half. Doesn't really make a difference. Let's go to a third. So that's okay. Now, before we continue on to the O-ring method, I'll show you how to make one of these really efficiently and really well so you can get a nice shape for it. You're going to need a pair of scissors, Sharpie or some sort of felt marker, and a shirt or some sort of material that you're going to cut. Let's join me over on the workbench. All right, we're here at the work desk. Now, I've already gone through the liberty of cutting the side of it. Basically, just find the side seam of your shirt and cut all the way up straight through the armpit. Once you've got that, we're basically just looking for this big open piece of fabric. So we can drape that over our drum and we'll take our Sharpie out. We're just going to draw a line inside the drum hoop. So I actually find before I do this, I like to add a clip just so that nothing shifts around and I can get an accurate drawing. Like I said, I'm just following sort of the inside of that drum hoop all the way around. Now the important thing is we don't want to actually connect this all the way because we have this clip here and we're going to be using that again for the muting system. So we don't want the clip, again I mentioned this earlier, metal on metal, the metal clip on the metal hoop. We don't want to do that. So we're actually going to cut out a little extra notch here. And that way we'll always have somewhere to safely clamp this down. So once you're done that, get out your scissors and we're just going to cut this out. Boom, and there's your new drum head cover. And we can clamp it on like so. Perfect. Before we check out how that sounds, if you want, you can take parts of your shirt and actually use it to make some of those rectangular cloths I mentioned earlier. So very cool, very multi-purpose. Let's go see how it sounds. Our new creation, beautiful, beautiful Betsy here. Or no, it's Timmy the Tom. Tom the Tom Tom. Tom the Tom Tom. Okay, how's she sound? It's about as much muting as I thought. Let's move on to the last method here. This is the O-ring method. Okay, here's our drum mute. Let's hear how it sounds. You hear that buzz? I hope the mic picks it up. Although it's a fairly good amount. Let's try the other side. Oh, that side's pretty good. So there we go. Let's wrap this up over there. All right, that about wraps it up. Let's just recount. What did we learn here? We learned that if you need to mute a drum, you always have a wallet and you always have some sort of card. Now, if it's on a tom, on an angle, as you saw earlier, it could fly off, but those are options. We learned that tape is cheap, but tape sucks and it looks like you're 5 years old, and just, there's so many better options that take just as much work than tape. What else do we look at? We looked at O-rings, which can be successful, but you're limited in your adjustability options. They also cost a lot. Moon gels, same thing. They cost quite a bit and they get super dirty and gross. Now, we also have the things like the cloth and clip, which is very clean, maybe not totally the most professional looking, but very, very cheap, very adjustable, easy to transport. And if you have super muffling needs, then you can go with a full cloth around your drum set. You can write in the comments, tell me which one you like best, which ones you've used. Maybe you're going to change it after watching this video. But until next time, have a good rest of your day.